Uh, Welcome, parents and guardians. This is David Prater, the athletic director at Arcadia Valley Schools. Uh, Today, I will want to provide an overview of the risks involved in student participation in athletics and extracurricular activities, and how these are managed to keep your child safe. Uh, Here at Arcadia Valley Schools, we are the Tigers, and we have middle school programs, junior high programs, and high school programs that give our students a chance to branch out into various sports and extracurricular activities such as band, esports, and choir. Uh, the types of risks we'd like to talk about in this presentation is the participation in sports. Sometimes you have physical uh, injuries such as a rolled ankle. Uh, we consider that minor up to a torn ACL. I've seen happen here at Arcadia Valley, which is a pretty major physical risk and a major physical surgery that happens. Uh, that is pretty, pretty. You see it a lot in sports. And then emotional damage risk. A lot of guys, a lot of kids get invested into these sports. To where that it's a big part of their lives. And it becomes extremely emotional. And there's even legal risks. I hate to say it, but coaches getting too involved with their student athletes. That's become a big thing in our day and age. There's concussions that lead to later in life things, and you have to take the proper steps when a concussion happens to make sure that athlete is safe. There's heat-related illnesses. I've seen the spike in that, especially in schools that have football. Putting those pads on in 90-degree weather, you have to be aware of those things like that. Emotional stress and burnout. You see athletes quit all the time because the pressure that comes with being successful with sports. There's transportation and travel related risks. Every time a student athlete gets on a bus to a game, to a trip, you have to be worried about that athlete, arriving alive, everyone making it from point A to point B, making sure there's no bus breakdown, and making sure that uh, that sport has the way to get to their competition. You see that a lot nowadays. Ever since COVID, the bus drivers are far and few between. At every school that I've ever been associated with, you always see them hiring bus drivers. So, and then hazing, bullying, and harassment. That's always a big concern in sports. Hazing and bullying, I feel like, are a part of sports that have been around for a long time, and they will probably continue to be around. But you have to make sure you're taking the right precautions to deal with those things. The most common risk is physical injury. We reduce this through training, conditioning, and proper use of protective gear. So with I'm a boys basketball coach now. We do a month of conditioning before we ever get to practice. I feel like this prepares the mind and the body, to gear towards a successful season. We talk about if you can't properly breathe, how can you stay down in a defensive stance? How can you do the right things if all you're worried about is your next breath? So we condition our bodies and our minds to be successful during season. Uh, and then you gotta have protective gear. In baseball, they need cups, they need the right spikes, they need correct helmets. If a student gets hit in the head, you want to make sure that you have the correct gear to protect those types of things. Uh, We always, if we're a school that doesn't have an athletic trainer on site, so we have to make sure our coach supervises those necessary components to make sure everyone is okay uh, with emergency procedures and concussion protocols. We want to balance sports and academics can be stressful. We promote mental wellness through access to counselors, time management coaching, and inclusive team culture. You know, Mental health resources and peer support groups are needed, and we want to make sure that our student athletes have access to those things. Um, you know, at our school, we want to follow stress risk management protocols. We make sure that the student athletes know who our counselors are, and make sure that they know that they're have access to them. We have mandatory physicals and consent forms from parents before they ever allowed to play any sport. We have certified coaching staffs, and then they're in CPR and by the state of Missouri. They're certified. We have emergency action plans, for like tornado drills, earthquake drills, and then IEDs in every building that are accessible. Then we have regular safety inspections of the facilities and equipment to make sure everything's up to standard. Legal considerations, we also educate students on legal risks, including hazing, bullying, and behavior expectations during travel and competition. I always say to my boys, I have your back if you're doing the right thing. I'm always going to be here to have your back. I think that's a big component of coaching is building that relationship. If you're doing the right thing, you're trying to do the right thing, I'm always going to be here in your corner. But if you're out there doing the wrong stuff, I have a wife and kids at home that I need to take care of, and I can't step in for you if you're not doing the right things or trying to do the right things. That code of conduct, permissions, Title IX compliance. We have to agree to the law, and I'm gonna always agree to the law. What parents can do: your involvement helps reduce risks. Keep medical info up to date. Uh, Encourage rest and hydration. You gotta hydrate the body. You gotta eat properly. You gotta make sure your student athlete your child's doing those things. Communicate concerns early. My door's open at all times. Communicate if you see something that's gonna be a bigger issue later. Well, let's address it while it's a small issue, and then review the activity handbook with your child. Don't just sign the end of the handbook. Let's go through it together and try to hit the big points together and make sure you both are aware of what's going on. Um, Final thoughts. While risk exists, the wars of participation, teamwork, discipline, confidence are worth it. With your support, we create a safer and more positive experience for all students. And we want to see everyone succeed. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name is David Prater. My email is dprater@avr2.org. My number is 573-631-3476. Thank you.